The moment the stage lights dimmed, a quiet hush fell over the Ireland's Got Talent theater. In that dim glow, a small, thin boy slowly walked into the center of the stage. His name was Miguel, only 13 years old, carrying nothing but a cracked, borrowed acoustic guitar and a hope bigger than his whole world back in Cebu City. His clothes were faded and too large for him, the sleeves dangling slightly as if they once belonged to someone older. It was clear he was poor, painfully clear, and the audience whispered softly among themselves, unsure what to expect from this fragile figure. Miguel stopped at the center of the stage, staring at the giant crowd before him. His chest rose and fell quickly. His hair wasn't styled, his face was nervous, and his hands shook so much that the guitar vibrated slightly. The judges noticed instantly. Caroline leaned forward, her eyebrows lifting with concern, while Patrick shook his head slowly as if wishing he could walk up and comfort the boy. Oliver, the strictest judge, softened just a bit when he saw how tightly Miguel held his guitar. After a few seconds, Caroline spoke with a gentle warmth. "Hi sweetheart, what's your name?" Miguel swallowed hard, the microphone shaking in his hand. I'm Miguel. I'm from Cebu City, Philippines." His voice cracked as he said it, and some people in the audience tilted their heads, touched by the vulnerability in his tone. Caroline smiled softly, trying to give him courage, and asked, "Why did you come all the way here to audition?" Miguel looked down. His lip trembled. I want to help my mama. She's sick. We don't have much. I thought, maybe if I sing good, I can make her better. Or at least, make life better." His voice broke on the last words, and the theater grew completely silent. Even the small echo of his breath seemed loud. Patrick leaned back and blinked several times. Oliver lowered his gaze, absorbing the weight of the boy's situation. The audience stopped whispering. Every single pair of eyes was now on Miguel, not out of doubt, but out of hope. Miguel lifted his guitar, his fingers trembling. The pick nearly slipped from his grip, and he sucked in a sharp breath, trying to steady himself. The judges exchanged worried looks, silently praying he wouldn't fall apart. Caroline whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart, just breathe." Miguel closed his eyes tightly, inhaled deeply as if gathering courage from somewhere deep inside the heaviness of his life, and placed his fingers on the strings. For a moment, the whole world held still. Miguel, the poor boy from Cebu with nothing but a worn guitar and a fragile dream, prepared to open his heart in front of thousands of strangers, and possibly change his life forever. The theater froze the moment Miguel strummed the first chord. It wasn't perfect. The sound wavered slightly, but there was something raw and human in it, something that whispered of struggle and sleepless nights. Then Miguel's voice entered, soft at first, trembling like someone standing on the edge of a cliff. Yet the emotion inside it was undeniable. It carried a depth far beyond his 13 years, as if he had lived every painful lyric of Hotel California in his own quiet battles. A ripple moved through the audience. People leaned forward. A few held their breath without realizing it. Miguel's voice grew steadier, filling the theater with an unexpected warmth and sadness. His eyes glistened as he sang, and with each line, his accent softened and his soul poured through. The judges felt it instantly. Caroline's hand rose to her chest. Her lips parted in astonishment. She glanced at Patrick, who was already wiping the corner of his eye. Oliver dropped his pen, the sound echoing faintly across the stage. He whispered to himself, "What is happening?" Miguel sang with the weight of someone who knew the meaning of hunger, of nights without electricity, of listening to rain leak through a broken roof. Every rise and fall in his voice felt like a story, his story, woven into the lyrics of a classic song. The chorus hit, and Miguel's voice cracked slightly. Instead of ruining the moment, it deepened it. It felt real. It felt heartbreakingly real. The audience reacted immediately. A woman in the front row covered her mouth, tears welling. A teenage boy wiped his face with his sleeve. A man shook his head slowly, overwhelmed by how such a young, poor boy could sing with such honesty. The energy in the room shifted. Everyone was now with Miguel, supporting him, loving him, hurting with him. As Miguel approached the final verse, sweat trickled down his face, mixing with silent tears he didn't even know were falling. His hands shook but didn't fail him. His voice grew stronger, richer, as if each second on stage was lifting years of struggle off his shoulders. He held the final note longer than expected, pouring everything into it. His mother's illness, his poverty, his dreams, his fear, his desperation, his hope. The note drifted into the air like a prayer. When he finally lowered his guitar, silence swallowed the room. For a moment, nobody moved. Not a single breath could be heard. Then suddenly, as if a dam broke, the audience erupted into applause. People stood. They cheered. They cried. The judges stood, tears streaming freely. Caroline clapped above her head. Patrick shouted something no one could even hear over the noise. Oliver looked stunned, his eyes shining with emotion he rarely allowed himself to show. Miguel had done it. He had touched every soul in the theater. As the applause thundered around him, Miguel stood frozen, his small frame trembling in disbelief. His eyes darted around the stage, then back to the cheering audience, then to the judges who were all standing, crying, clapping, and smiling through their tears. Miguel didn't know what to do. He looked almost afraid of the love being poured toward him. Caroline leaned forward, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Miguel, sweetheart, that wasn't just a performance. That was your soul crying out. I felt you. We all felt you. That was one of the most emotional moments of my career." Her voice cracked, and the audience cheered louder. Patrick placed his hands on the table, leaning closer. Tears streamed down his cheeks without shame. "You walked on this stage with nothing but courage. You looked scared, you looked like life hasn't been fair to you, but when you started singing, everything changed. You showed strength most adults never find. You're a star, Miguel. A real one." He broke into a soft, shaking laugh as he wiped tears again. Even Oliver, known for his brutal honesty, took a deep breath before speaking. He stood up slowly, and the room hushed. "Miguel," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you reminded everyone of us why talent shows even exist. Not for perfection, not for fame, but for moments like this, moments where someone who has every reason to fall, chooses to rise instead. You rose tonight, you made us cry, you made us proud, and you deserve everything good coming your way." Miguel's lips quivered, his chest tightened, he pressed a hand to his mouth, overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't name. Tears streamed down his face, and he tried to wipe them away with his worn sleeve, but more kept coming. Then Caroline reached forward and slammed her hand onto the golden buzzer. A thunderous sound echoed through the theater. Golden confetti exploded from the ceiling, showering Miguel in glittering flakes of light. The audience screamed with joy. Miguel gasped and dropped to his knees, covering his face as golden rain fell around him. It looked like the universe itself was blessing him. Caroline rushed onto the stage, kneeling beside him and pulling him into a gentle hug. Miguel sobbed openly, his tears mixing with the falling gold. Patrick and Oliver stood, clapping and smiling through their own tears, their faces glowing with pride. The audience chanted his name over and over. Miguel, Miguel, Miguel. A poor boy from Cebu, with nothing but a cracked guitar and a dream, had turned his pain into magic. And in that moment, covered in golden confetti, embraced by the judges, celebrated by thousands, Miguel's entire world began to change.